A lot of changes happen during the second half of life. Join Kash Mahmood, owner of Vargo Hospice and Home Health, and his guest as they explore topics to help you navigate the second half of your life. And now, here's Kash.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Second Half of Life with me, Kash Mahmood. Our topic of discussion today is don't miss the fall Medicare enrollment period. And our guest that's going to shed light on this topic today is Stephen Shumaker with Trusted Benefits Group. How are you doing today, Stephen?
I'm doing great, Kash. I appreciate you having me on.
Excellent. Well, before we dive into the questions, I'd like to take a little bit of time and have you share with the audience a little bit about yourself, a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, of course. So, my story is a little bit longer if you wanna have me tell the truth, but I'll shorten it for time's sake. So, essentially, I got in this business to help people. My original background was in mathematics and physics, so I have a very technical mind. It was always a passion of mine to become a teacher, become an educator, more than that, and always so much to help people. So about 2.5 years ago, I was presented with an opportunity to join Trusted Benefits Group, working under an amazing mentor that basically streamlined the process for me. And once I kind of got my feet on the ground, I was hooked immediately. I mean, Medicare is its own reward, and being able to help these seniors is just a very big passion of mine. So I'm very happy with where I am today.
I agree. I mean, in fact, being able to help seniors, I personally believe is a blessing. Let's learn a little bit about the enrollment period, about the Medicare, the maze that we call Medicare. So when can a Medicare recipient enroll in a Medicare plan or even change their plan?
So this is actually a pretty loaded question because most people don't understand the basics of the enrollment period. So I'm going to try to break it down in the simplest terms and explain when certain scenarios come up, which enrollment fits best for you. So one of the most important ones is what we call our initial enrollment period. That basically is a 7-month window when somebody first has the ability to apply for Medicare. Usually when they turn 65, it starts 3 months before, happens to fall on the month of their birthday month, and then 3 months after. So that's what you call that initial enrollment period. The next one is actually the one we are in currently, which runs from October 15th to December 7th. And a good association with that date is Pearl Harbor Day. So if ever you're wondering if I have enough time, just remember that the annual enrollment for the fall ends on Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th. And this particular enrollment period is very important for those on either standalone prescription drug programs or something called Medicare Advantage programs. This basically means that you can change your policy for the new year. Little things you want to pay attention to during this period is plan changes. So does the price increase? Are the benefits decreasing? Some plans may even be discontinued. Basically, this gives you an opportunity to compare it with the market. A couple more include our open enrollment, which happens during the first quarter of the year, which means that you're not necessarily locked into a plan that you've chosen the previous year. This is a good association with this is it is a trial period where you have 3 months to test out the policy that you have just enrolled in. And you have the opportunity to make a one-time change during January 1st to March 31st. So it gives you a little bit of freedom to kind of test out a program if you're a little more on the fence. And then there are these things called special enrollment periods throughout the year where simple ones like if you move in or out of a service area, if you have involuntary loss of coverage, such as disenrolling from your employer benefits, if you have VA benefits, if you have a change in Medicaid status, and then even a little bit deeper ones, which involve special needs programs, which a lot of times happens with chronic conditions. So that's the general breakdown of, when can I enroll in Medicare?
Huh. Interesting. So we see a lot of these ads on TV, right now, like you said, the enrollment period is going on. So everybody gets bombarded with all of this information. What is the major difference between Medicare Advantage and Medicare Supplement?
I will say that this is usually a very common misconception is these phrases get thrown out like original Medicare, traditional Medicare, Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement. And it can be very, very confusing because nobody really breaks it down to where you can understand it. They're all out there trying to sell a product. So it was kind of introduced to me in this aspect, and it's really, really convenient. So a Medicare Advantage is essentially like a combo meal. So when you have the option between a Medicare Advantage and a supplement, think of the Medicare Advantage as a combo meal where you walk into a fast food restaurant, you pick a combo meal, it comes with everything that you need. It comes with the fries, it comes with the sandwich, it comes with a drink. You don't really need to add a bunch of stuff to it. In a little more complicated terms, the Medicare Advantage is typically a very low, or most cases, a $0 additional premium. It adds extra benefits, just like a combo meal. It comes with your vision, your dental, your chiropractic care, and some fitness benefits, etc. It does have a pay-as-you-go type structure, such as co-pays, co-insurance, and you will be restricted to a network, which most people associate with a corporate style program, very similar to employer style plans, HMOs, PPOs. And these particular plans also come with maximum out-of-pockets. Now, some of the the smaller network plans have lower max out-of-pockets, but if you want a wider network, of course, you can hit upwards of sometimes $10,000 out-of-pocket. Now, Medicare Supplement is a little more associated with what we call a hot dog stand. And now a hot dog stand, we describe it as an a la carte menu. That means that whenever you go to a hot dog stand, you buy everything separate. You buy your hot dog separate from your drink, separate from, your chips. This essentially breaks down as whenever you purchase a supplement, you're only getting that particular coverage for the excess charges that come with original Medicare. The way that breaks down, a supplement breaks down, is you pay a higher premium for typically a much, much lower out-of-pocket cost. And you would have to pick up the extras, the a la carte, such as a prescription drug program, vision and dental programs. But the beauty of a supplement is that you do not require a network. Everything is federally mandated, so it's pretty heavily drawn, a line in the sand. There is no gray area. And it typically minimizes your catastrophic costs. So that $10,000 out of pocket that you would see with a Medicare Advantage, you will most likely not hit that anywhere near that with a supplement should something catastrophic occur.
Okay. Interesting. So you mentioned copays, you mentioned deductibles. Is Medicare free, or do you have, is it like any other health insurance? You have to buy some stuff, or can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. So a very common misconception is that we've paid into the system, Medicare is supposed to be free. And while, we always hope and wish for something, like that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, Medicare is just not completely free. Now, I will break this down a little bit so that you can kind of understand the terms. So original Medicare consists of two parts, which is your Part A, which is your hospital. And an easy association with this is A for ambulance, which takes you to the hospital. Then you have your Part B, which covers your doctors, your B, brilliant doctors. So if you need an easy association, that's the way it breaks down. And then, of course, your Part D, D for drugs, that's an easy one, has also been mandated as a requirement since 2006. So the original question is Medicare free? So there is a premium associated with your hospital, your Part A hospital premium. However, if you have worked for 40 quarters or 10 years, there is no premium that you have to pay. However, there is a Part A hospital deductible for this upcoming year, which is $1,600, which has to be met before your coverage kicks in. Then, of course, you have Part B premium, and this particular premium associated with doctors is also associated with the general premium that you have to pay in order to maintain your Medicare coverage. And the upcoming premium for next year is going to be $164.90. Then there's also going to be a Part B doctor deductible of $226. So a little breakdown between what you would have to meet first before the coverage kicks in. And then, of course, you're on the hook for 20%. Medicare is going to take care of that fat 80% chunk. But after your deductible, you still have to hit that 20% coinsurance. Additionally, there is something called an income-related monthly adjustment amount. Now, this one is not so fun to talk about. This is, in the simplest terms, a tax on the rich. If you file jointly and you make anywhere upwards of $194,000, you will most likely be tacked on with this particular income adjustment. Now, don't fear, because you can appeal the decision if you feel like it's not as accurate as they describe. So there is hope yet. The last thing that I do want to mention is something called late enrollment penalties. This is very important because it's kind of tossed around a little bit. And there's a certain amount of fear attached to it. So be careful with your understanding. You want to be very specific as to know what will constitute a late enrollment period. Essentially, it breaks down to, do I have creditable coverage? In general terms, if you have a marketplace plan or if you have an employer plan, you are in good shape. One of the most common misconceptions is something called COBRA, which I'll get into in a second. But essentially, the way the late enrollment penalties break down is, if you do not have creditable coverage when you were first eligible for Medicare, you can be tacked on 10% for every year not enrolled, added to your Part B premium for life. And for your Part D, which is going to be your drugs, for each month that you did not have creditable drug coverage, you'll be charged 1% times the national average, and that will also be added onto your premium for life. So these particular penalties you need to know about before you decide to forego Medicare, and just make sure that you have that security, that creditable coverage, just to avoid these particular penalties.
What's the rule regarding the health savings accounts when it comes to Medicare?
So this one's used to be a little more complicated. But the way that it breaks down is you must stop contributing to a health savings account before you are fully enrolled in Medicare. So typically, the way that it broke down is they would recommend you stop contributing for a few months. But the new rule associated is that you must stop contributing at minimum 1 month prior, or you could be tacked on penalties. So that's something very, very important, especially when you're coming direct from an employee,
Employer
from an
benefits, yeah.
employer coverage. Exactly.
I mean, I have a whole new level of appreciation for Medicare being a maze, and then the rules constantly changing. So that's when I think having a credible partner that can actually walk through and make sure that people are not penalized for life is just that much more critical. So just to build on what you said, does someone have to enroll in Medicare once they're 65, even if they continue to work?
So the most important thing is the question, do I have creditable coverage? In most cases, the employer coverage are almost required to offer you a similar level of health insurance offered throughout the rest of the company. However, if it is not a larger company, they're not required to. So some places will even push somebody towards retirement, maybe not even offering them those same benefits. So you can continue to work, but the most important thing is, do you have creditable coverage? And I mentioned COBRA earlier. That's a very important one. Currently, COBRA is not considered creditable coverage. I've run into a few clients where the employers have actually paid for COBRA for a few years after they retired from the company, of course, out of the goodness of that company's heart. But it just so happens that their lack of knowledge inevitably led them to having a two years worth of late enrollment penalties because they didn't know that COBRA currently is not creditable coverage. Now, there is something in the legislature that basically specifies, or they're trying to pass, to get COBRA to be creditable for those particular situations, but currently it is not. So the big thing is just find an expert that can help guide you and give you the answers that you need.
Okay. So how does one apply for Medicare once they're ready? What's the process?
So there are a few different ways to do it, but the most efficient ways are kind of twofold. Now, my favorite, I'm a little younger. I'm all about the online mode. So very simply, you're going to go to ssa.gov. You'll find a tab on there that says Medicare, and you'll scroll about halfway down, and in a nice blue button, it'll say apply for Medicare. This is also a very good resource for those planning for it because there's a lot of useful information in there. The second option is to do this in person. If you're much more of an in-person type, then you can go to your local Social Security office and fill out an in-person application. Sometimes you can get the help that you need in a local Social Security office, but I do still recommend having an agent kind of walk you through to make sure you've done a very thorough job with the application.
Okay. Well, I guess, Stephen, if that's the case, how do people get in touch with you?
Very simple. A phone call is always good. My phone number is down below. It's 281-685-3899. I am a texter. That is my direct line. So if you prefer text as well, I can receive at that phone. The alternative would be to go via email. And that's very simple. Steven@trustedbenefitsgroup.com. And I believe my principal agent even set it up so that if you misspell my name, it will still ring straight to me. So
That's great. That's great. Well, Stephen, I got to tell you, this was extremely informative. I mean, I personally learned a lot from this, and my biggest takeaway from this is a very critical and complex scenario where, we do need help of experts. So I thank you for taking the time to come visit us today. Thank you for taking the time to share your insights with our viewers. Thank you.
Thank you, Kash. It's a pleasure.